Good evening, Jan John here. In the picture you can see the Hulk, a popular cartoon character which has also been made into a series of movies. When the Hulk gets angry, he turns into a green giant with enormous strength and superhuman powers. He becomes an incredible fighting machine and seems to lack rational thinking. Actually, I suppose this is not too bad a representation of what happens to us ordinary people when we get angry. We don't develop superhuman strength, but we do gain extra energy and motivation. We can become quite irrational, and we can also be better at fighting with people. So is anger a useful emotion? I think that sometimes it can give us an extra motivation and energy which can be useful. For example, if we are arguing with a taxi driver who we think has tried to cheat us by charging us too much money, our anger may intimidate him and force him to reconsider his strategy. If we are too meek, M-E-E-K, he may well continue to take advantage of us. So anger probably does serve a purpose in society in regard to our survival. It gives us extra energy to fight, without which we would be quite weak animals. On the other hand, anger is often a totally useless response to a situation and can often lead to even worse problems. For example, if you're dealing with a delicate negotiation in business or in politics, if you get angry and maybe start abusing the other people, there may be a breakdown of communication, and you will lose the possibility of achieving mutual understanding and compromise. We can also get angry even when we are by ourselves. If, for example, I slip over on the bathroom floor and hit my head, I may curse in anger, not at anybody else, but just to express my feelings. Sometimes when we do express our feelings with a shout or by throwing something, it can make us feel relieved. It can let some steam off and we can feel better because of it. But mostly in the very complicated modern society we live in, we see anger as nearly always destructive. It nearly always leads to worse problems and sometimes insurmountable problems. So what's the best way to deal with a situation when you feel angry? Well, there is the classic advice of count to 10 in your head, or maybe take a deep breath, count to 10 before you say or do anything. This is a good strategy. It allows you a little bit of time to calm down before you say or do something drastic. I guess people who are often in angry situations will develop their own techniques for maybe channeling this anger into a more positive strategy. Channeling the anger into a positive strategy by using that extra energy to think more clearly and perhaps be more forceful in your negotiations with the other people. In public situations, people have different ways of responding when they see an angry argument between other people. Mostly, I think they don't want to get involved because they are afraid they will be attacked in some way, and also because they are afraid they may not sufficiently understand the situation to know who to support or what to do. If the situation is not too serious, we might step in and try to calm the people down, but if it looks like it may erupt into violence, then we tend to stay well away. Do you think it's good maybe to let off steam occasionally by getting angry in small situations? I think this may be a good idea, because what can often happen with people who suppress their anger is one day they erupt like a long dormant volcano in an extremely spectacular and dangerous way. If you only show your anger once a year, it may be similar to the earthquake we have just had in Nepal. But if you let off your anger in small doses frequently, maybe this may help you to firstly control your anger, and secondly to make it less severe. I think anger also decreases as we get older. I suspect this is about biology. Young people, maybe young men especially, are more prone to rage, possibly because their hormones or other substances in their body are more potent. So whatever is released into the bloodstream when they get angry may be stronger and have more effect. This may be one reason why leaders of countries tend to be old men, because their emotional responses have more equanimity, meaning emotional and psychological balance. Even so, we still sometimes see elderly politicians throwing a punch in Parliament. I don't know if this has ever happened in the Thai Parliament, but it has certainly happened in other countries. I think maybe Taiwan, but I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. So here is an essay question. We live in a complicated world with many kinds of intertangled relationships, where anger can often be a common emotion. Do you think anger has a useful purpose, or is it totally negative? Introduction. It's certainly easy to get angry in society. Every day there are things which can spark people's anger, such as traffic jams, people jumping the queue in front of you in a shop, traffic noise and other noise which can prevent you from sleeping, and so on. People deal with anger in different ways, but it is not uncommon to see people shouting or screaming in the street over some incident which has caused anger to arise within them. Second paragraph. I'm going to support the idea that anger is mostly negative. In the past, when human beings were mostly hunter-gatherers, anger would have served a far more useful purpose. where daily battles with other tribes or encounters with dangerous animals may have made the energy we get from anger essential for our survival. However, nowadays we don't live in that kind of world. We live in a world where human relationships are far more complicated, with an infinitely subtle language structure. Infinitely subtle language structure. Subtle, S-U-B-T-L-E. And instead of getting angry, we use language and communication skills to solve problems, rather than putting our energy into base emotions like anger. We need instead to develop language and social skills to help us deal with the complicated problems of the modern social world in an effective way. For example, in the office where I work, people are under a lot of pressure to meet deadlines and keep to company standards. This pressure can sometimes be too much, and it's not unusual to see somebody kick the coffee machine. Last week, a colleague of mine got really angry, and while he was sipping his coffee at the coffee machine, he suddenly threw the cup across the room, splashing coffee over a number of other people. They were shocked and became angry in turn, while he looked shamefaced. He looked shamefaced and embarrassed. Shamefaced and embarrassed. He had only been working for the company a few weeks, and this incident will certainly have not done anything for his future career. I am sure he will be regretting his unruly response to pressures of the job which face everybody. Third paragraph, saying something in favour of anger. I know many people who are too timid, and frankly I think a top up in their anger department would be a good thing. There is a girl in my office who behaves like a mouse. Everybody bullies her, and sometimes when I see her being humiliated, I just wish she would stand up for herself. I have even told her that when someone is very rude to her, she should slap their face. But of course there is no way she would do that. She is far too timid. I just wanted to make the point to her that if she tried to be a bit more aggressive, her life may become easier. Final paragraph, conclusion. In conclusion, no, I think anger is mostly a negative way of responding to events in our world. However, just occasionally, a little bit of anger can be just the right remedy. Just the right remedy. Well, there are many things which make me angry. I don't know about you. I can hardly go through a day without something making me angry, but I do try to control myself, and I have survived this far in life without killing anybody, so I think that is quite an achievement. Thank you for listening. Good night.